Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. We back in the
Welcome.
house today. My girl Kasha B is back in the house with relationship codes. Hey,
What's
y'all,
up?
look, she just been hanging out, with her boo, with her husband, and they didn't hit Jamaica and hit a cruise and just out there painting the country red. You know what I'm saying, Kasha? How you doing? How was your
I'm doing
cruise?
good. Everything was wonderful. Yeah, tried my first cruise.
Was it?
hmm
Would you
Yeah,
think? Did you like
I
it?
loved it. Yeah, I did. We went on a Virgin Voyage, which was awesome.
Okay, Virgin Voyage. Where exactly did y'all go hang out at?
To Cozumel and Bahamas.
Oh, nice, nice. How was the food?
Yeah, it was good. It
It was
was
good.
good. I was surprisingly, yes, because sometimes with mass food, it doesn't work out too well. But yeah, it was nice.
Okay, okay. What was the
hmm
favorite? What was the most favorite part of your trip?
Just sitting around till I got tired of sitting around. That was
That is
that's
R&R for real, for real.
yeah, you just have to sit down sometimes, and that was the perfect way to do it. That was my whole goal was to just be a total beach bum and do nothing until I just got tired, came back, and I was ready to rock and roll. So that's what I needed.
That's good. That's real good. That's
hmm
good. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you're
Thank you.
here. Audience missed you. Some people checked in and they was like, "Well, where's your girl Kasha B at? Y'all usually
Yeah,
vibe real great." So I didn't
yeah.
think they really liked me like that, but
You're so
but I'm but
silly.
but I'm glad you back in the house. So thank you for
Thank you.
that.
Glad
But
to be back.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Relationship Codes. And that's where we're going to be breaking down patterns, principles, and personality temperaments that shapes all of your relationships, both personal and professional. And our method is proven, and it is helps you to unlock different success tools that's driven solely off your personality temperament and who you attract. And so today's lesson we will be talking about is the four personality temperaments and the assessment you really never took. And so,
hmm
Kasha, I know that you have taken one of my assessments.
hmm
What was your overall thought about the assessment compared to others?
I thought it was more in depth. So when I take different assessments, you kind of have to switch your mindset into what it's for, essentially. So with this assessment, it was more, I felt more personal as I was going through the assessment. And then I've taken like a disc that was more supposed to be mindset more towards work.
Okay.
But this really honed in on more of my personal um, relationships and how I interact with people than the disc did
Right.
because it was more work focused, but they kind of flow into each other a bit um,
Okay.
as I've been reading through. But I like the this assessment better because you want to be able to build relationships personally, and that's I think how you build relationships in business and as you're dating and things of that nature.
Right, right, right. One of the things about the assessment that we use here at Relationship Avenues to help decode and code things is we measure your whole personality spectrum. That means you have a flow from your strengths to things that you are not necessarily strong in, and
hmm
we flow throughout our spectrum every day. Now, a lot of the assessments that people take, it does just kind of focus on your primary,
Mhm.
and a lot of people will say they're accurate until the storm comes, until a conflict comes, until the pressure comes, and then it appears to be off.
Mhm.
But what we measure is how you actually flow throughout your spectrum. So at home, you're not operating in a particular temperament that you are operating in at work.
Mhm.
Like, that's one of the things that I like about the other assessment. I won't mention the name, but
Mhm.
I like the D and the I and the S and the C, because
Mhm.
it does focus kind of on your primary, but we
Mhm.
all have so many gifts, talents, and strengths. And that's what I like
Right.
about the one I have when you says it's more personal, because
It
it does,
is.
it measure your whole self and how you
Mhm.
flow, how you
Yep.
communicate, how you love,
Mhm.
how
And it
you,
brings in the different colors also because everyone's not just one color. You
that's
have a
right.
dominant color, but then you also have, the other colors that flow into everything that you do.
That's
So
right.
I like this assessment because it really brings everything in and it's very comprehensive as far as the other temperaments and how you are interacting and flowing within the different parts of your life.
Right, right. And before I get into explaining the four temperament types, I saw it and um, in a career move where they restructured the organization. And I don't
Mm,
know if it was 100 and maybe 20 people in the organization, and they may have let 80 people go or something like that,
mm,
and kind of did a whole overall restructuring. And it was the
mhm,
first time I saw all 40 people in a professional setting be in agreement.
mm,
And all I knew was, look, that's a skill set I gotta have, because you work with combative people, people that have different attitudes. Sometimes they
mhm.
stink.
Yep.
You have people that are stubborn, don't want to change. Sometimes you have people that are overly emotional and sensitive and get offended about everything.
Mhm,
And you have people that just, they moving so fast, they leave a trail of mess behind them, and they never really stick to a point and finish nothing. And so you got to
mhm.
learn how to cultivate and work with all of those different styles in a work setting. But not only
Right,
in a work setting, imagine a person switching up like that and you in a relationship with them.
right.
Imagine you married to them.
Mhm,
So when you take a look at why the divorce rate is so high, first of all, people don't know what they getting into. They just think they do. But when you know what a person, how a personality temperament is wired with a full spectrum, then you have a choice. You say, I know what to train for, or
mhm.
ain't no way in the world I want to deal with that. So I'm just gonna keep it moving from the very beginning. And
Right.
that's the major power in understanding the personality temperament. So let me
Mhm.
get into them real quick. So one of the first temperaments, and I believe your primary, Kasha, and your secondary are the same. They
Yep,
had
I
they had the
agree.
same score, so they pretty equal. So that means you will flow real easy between yours. So the
Yes.
first one I'm gonna talk about, that's the one that's likes the harmony, the peace,
Mhm,
the love, making sure everybody's included. They don't really, they're not fighters, they're lovers.
mhm.
And then they have a whole communication style, things that stress them out, what esteems them, what makes them out of esteem,
Mhm.
what's their negotiation style, what's their buying style. So you have all of these things just in one temperament, but
Right.
imagine you have four of those. So that's why you have to understand how you flow through them. And
Mhm.
so that's one of the temperaments.
Yeah, my
And
blue.
then, pardon?
The blue temperament, that's my
Yeah,
dominant.
that's
Yeah.
the blue temperament. That's your
Mhm.
most dominant.
Yeah.
My primary temperament is green, so that's opposite of the blue.
Mhm.
Yep. And the green temperament is the logical thinker. They like to collect in information.
Yeah.
They like to be right. They do have a hint of perfectionism on them. And so they'll continue to collect all types of information before they want to move forward with something.
Right.
And that can cause them to delay in getting some things done. But nevertheless, they usually take a lot of pride in collecting information and how they operate. Now we talked about the blue and the green. We know they're
Mhm.
opposite, the head and the heart. And
Yeah.
imagine getting connected with somebody like that in a relationship
Hmm.
that's totally opposite, and you don't feel like that or you don't think like that. That's where a lot of
Right.
conflicts can come in. But initially, people attract like that. Why do you think the opposites attract like that? Is that a science thing, or
Right.
you think people trying
Different
to fill a void?
color.
Or
Yeah, probably. There have been songs written about that for ages, right? The opposites attracted.
yep,
So it's like a age-old question
right,
as to why that occurs. But I think it's a balancing um, aspect in life. You it's good to have someone that you can relate to
right.
on some aspects of maybe your personality traits, but then at the same time you can't be exactly alike because I don't think you'll ever get anything done.
That's right. That's right. And so here's what happens with opposites.
Hmm.
They attract, and then later they get on each other's nerves and repel.
Hmm.
It's to the point where they get in, it becomes toxic.
Right.
And it's because most conflicts, the bottom line, if we truly honest, is I'm right and you wrong.
Yeah,
That's usually the bottom line of all conflicts is
that's true.
my way of doing things is right and it's better than the way you would do it.
Hmm.
And we've never really learned how to use or work with or collaborate with another person's approach and how to incorporate that into our approach.
Hmm.
That's where the conflict comes in,
Right.
because I'm not really hearing what you're saying. So you saying my way is too hard to approach some things and I should be
Mm.
more nurturing and loving towards a situation.
Right.
So I'm thinking, nah, this is the situation you need to be hard in. And so now you upset about it. Now I don't
Hmm.
care. Now we walking around and we have
Mad.
tension.
Right. Everybody mad at each other.
Everybody mad at each other just because you didn't do it my way or you don't think my way.
Right.
But really, the power is understanding and practicing and knowing what to look for and understand why that temperament is designed that way. I'm not shocked
Mm-hmm.
that you and I have always worked well together. We worked
Mm-hmm.
well together when we were on leadership team. Look,
Yes.
we drove that chapter from last in the
Yeah, to
state
first.
to first in the state and
Yeah.
chapter of the year. That's because I valued what you said and
Mm-hmm.
incorporated it. And when I wanted you to be on the leadership team with me, it was
Yeah.
for that reason. It was because I valued your strengths and I understand that understanding differences
Right.
is how you create unity.
Mm-hmm.
That is a skill set that needs to be practiced.
Yes.
Nothing else. You should, but when you don't practice it, you don't know how, and you're left with conflict.
Right. And the
Well,
communication between each color too, right? Because I think there's always going to be some tension in thought processes when you're trying to achieve a goal, right? Because
right,
you're
right.
not you're not talking to the exact same temperament. You're not talking to an exact copycat of yourself, and
That's right.
so that communication needs to come in hand to really understand. Well, how what's the best way to approach this person based on what I know,
Right.
so then that way we can kind of smooth through the tension and the conflict, because conflict is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's
Correct.
how you are able to flow through it and understand and be able to receive the information coming from different types of folks.
Right. You 100% on. And I know that again with my wife, I can't get hyped.
Hmm.
You know, because if my tone goes up, she's like, why you upset? Why you mad? And I'm like, baby, I'm not mad. You know, I'm not upset. She was like,
Right.
but you're yelling. I'm like, I'm hyped, you know. But look, it
Right.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think, is how she's
How she
interpreting it.
receives
So
it. Yeah.
the wisdom says turn the volume down and still communicate and get your point
Mhm.
across. Don't get caught up on a little snag of tone.
Right. My husband is kind of the same way. When we were newly married, I'll say newly through probably 10 years.
Right,
It
right.
was hard because as my personality, I like to avoid conflict. Like I do not like conflict. I like everything running smooth. I like harmony. When he gets, passionate or he's trying to make a point, he tends to go up. And I'm like, why are you yelling at me? And so then I'm mad. And so he's like, I'm not mad. I'm just trying to, I was like, well, bring it down, sir. So it's just, like you said, it's the different types and how you communicate that. And so I think it's so important that people understand that, that you took upon yourself to say, okay, I do need to bring it down. And she was okay with communicating with you, like you are too up here. You need to come down with me because this is
Right,
where I am. This is how I communicate.
right. And I'm gonna tell you, mature people, people that are wise, they know how to do that
Hmm.
versus taking the stance. Well, why do I have to? Why I have to bring it down? Look, you bring it down because you smart enough
Right.
to know that that causes conflict. You're
Yes.
mature enough to know that if that's gonna rock the boat, you don't want the boat to rock, then don't do it.
Mhm.
And usually
Right.
it's just a
Unless you're
matter
just
of
looking for it.
exactly, unless you're trying to start some stuff and set it off.
Mm.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
I got a question from the audience for you.
Okay.
So you say you're a green personality, right?
Yes. My primary.
What's a primary green?
Yep.
What's the one thing people misunderstand about the green personality? And so, like, how can you try to bridge that gap between that misunderstanding?
Well, one misunderstanding about a green temperament or personality is they can come off like we know it all,
Hmm.
but what we need to do is to be able to articulate the information that we've studied. Because a lot of times
Hmm.
the logical thinker thinks off of information that they've taken in. They research, and so they're very knowledgeable about a lot of subjects.
Hmm.
And so when they communicate as a matter of fact, but they're only communicating off of research, information, things that they've read, things that they've witnessed and watched. And then
Hmm.
so they communicate facts and it sounds really harsh all the time. It sounds really
Hmm.
stern all the time. And so people misunderstand that about a green temperament.
Hmm.
And there's a misunderstanding about every single temperament, but I'm glad they asked
Right.
about the green temperament, but that is one of them. And
Hmm.
so I generally myself will say, as a matter of fact, or I'm
Hmm.
not really for sure about this, but I think.
Right.
But when I don't say that, then if I don't know anything, I usually say, I don't know. Let me look it up.
Right. Yeah, that's a good bridge gap. A good way to bridge that gap. So I think we'll hang on to this question, and as we, do our more podcasts and we talk more about each temperament, we'll kind of bring that question back in. I think that's, a good one to kind of expand on as we go through and talk about the temperaments.
Okay, okay. Let's do that. So we talked about the green today. We talked about the
Mhm.
blue today. How about next week when we come back? Let's talk about the other two and
Mhm.
how that all works together and then
Yeah.
continuously working on the flow. Hey, look everybody, if you want a personality assessment, the one that we talk about, the one that's more personal, the one that I've
Mhm.
used for 21 years, and it just does amazing things both
Mhm.
personally and professionally. Look,
Yes.
just type in the just type in the box personality assessment, and I will send you a free version, and then I'll send you how you can get the paid version as well. It's only 50 bucks. Okay.
Mhm.
And if you're really serious and want to take things to a whole nother level, there's one that comes with a consultation, but just type in personal assessment and I'll make sure you get that information so that you can choose which version you want. You can start with the free one, you can upgrade or whatever, but it's really super important that we want you to get an assessment. I
Mhm.
personally believe that this is will be a game changer in the world.
Mhm.
My personal goal is to get 100,000 people an assessment across the world so that we can start keeping families together, so that we can keep relationships together, so that we can effectively partner and just be more loving, more intentional about who we effectively partner with. And you have a homework assignment. Kasha, I had a homework assignment, you have a homework assignment, and we'll report back out on that. So, whether you're married, whether you're dating someone, your homework assignment is to write down a list of 25 things that make them a great person, a great boyfriend, a great wife, a
Mhm.
great girlfriend, a great husband. What makes 25 things that make them a great person? This was an exercise we had to do at a marriage retreat. It was game changing. And then write down 3 things that you can do that will change their life and make them great.
Mm.
Not again,
Mhm.
but just make them great.
Right.
Other than that, y'all, hey, that's our
Yeah.
time for the day.
Yeah.
Look, we'll see you next week on the relationship codes. Everybody take care and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Peace.